Right in time for New Year, we're greeted with our next gripping entry into the Star Wars universe, this being the Book of Boba Fett, of course following the legendary bounty hunter, Boba Fett, as the name suggests. Here at Star Wars Now, myself and the team are super excited to cover the series and explore what it has to offer, so let's dive straight into it.
Please, speak freely.
Greetings my young Padawans, my name is Captain Jack and welcome to Star Wars Now. Spoiler warning, we'll be discussing this new episode in full detail in this review, so if you've not watched it yet, turn away now. Chapter 1 of Boba Fett is titled Stranger in a Strange Land, and refers to Boba Fett's adventures on Tatooine, not only reigning over his new empire, but also surviving following his defeat at the Sarlacc pit. Director Robert Rodriguez returns to direct the Book of Boba Fett, along with Jon Favreau who wrote the episode. Before we jump into this video, use the force and hit that subscribe and like button to never miss a video for myself and the team here at Star Wars Now. As always, if you're talking about Star Wars, then we want to hear about it. Immediately, I'm gonna say that Chapter 1 of the Book of Boba Fett has subverted some of my expectations. Originally, I was hesitant about the show. Was it simply going to be another Mandalorian, or perhaps this legendary guy going around beating up criminal scum on Tatooine? Which I'd not fully complain about. Instead, we got something much different. Right off the bat, we're introduced to Boba Fett where we last left him, the former palace of Jabba the Hutt. What makes the series stand out right away is the use of flashbacks to tell us the story of how Boba Fett got to where he is, even if there is a slight letdown in this department, which I'll talk about in a moment. Did the first chapter, or should I say episode, actually give us a big surprise reveal like many were hoping for? No, it did not. But is this a problem? I don't think so personally. When the Mandalorian revealed Baby Yoda, aka Grogu, in its first episode, I think many were expecting a big reveal in the first episode of the Boba Fett series, especially with rumours of Qi'ra and Crimson Dawn being involved in the series. Sadly for many, there is no Baby Yoda style twist in the first episode, but that isn't really an issue, as they spend a good deal of time filling in Boba Fett's backstory with the use of flashbacks. Flashbacks, like a glimpse of Kamino, which of course is the homeworld of Boba Fett as he is a clone of his father, Jango Fett, who was based on Kamino training the clone army. We're also shown Boba recovering the helmet of his father following his death at the hands of Mace Windu, during the first battle of Geonosis, an event that clearly still weighs on him. The episode's first 10 minutes are made up entirely of flashbacks, give us more introduction to the character. While hardcore fans like myself and many others get answers to our burning questions, such as the Sarlacc pit, this also serves as an intro into the character for new viewers. Speaking of an intro into the character and setting, I feel like the story drops the ball here slightly. At the very end of The Mandalorian, we see Boba Fett and Fennec Shand seize control of Jabba's palace, and kill Bib Fortuna. But this scene and content is neglected from this episode. It is referenced when Fett meets with another criminal underworld person on Tatooine, but part of me thinks that we could have needed that cinematic in a sense to explain how he got here and is in control of his territory. These Sarlacc pit flashbacks were fantastic, even if they were slightly gruesome. Seeing that dead stormtrooper was disgusting, but great at the same time. Boba Fett seemingly managed to make it out of the Sarlacc pit very well. However, it appears those pesky Jawas and Tusken Raiders were the bounty hunter's real fall from grace. Jawa stealing Fett's armour links up with how Cobb Vanth recovered it, and it was seen with it in The Mandalorian Season 2, having recovered it from the same Jawas himself. I do wonder if we'll see more of Cobb Vanth again through the use of flashbacks, as in The Mandalorian, Fett does know him by name. Perhaps he tried to get the armour back from him at some point in time. What I'm loving with the Book of Boba Fett so far is that Fett is not this super badass bounty hunter anymore. He's very much a damaged man, as was shown in Chapter 1. Residing most of his time in the Bacta tank, it's clear that the injuries he has sustained due to his time in the brutal environment of Tatooine has taken a serious toll on his health, both physically and mentally. During a fight with what appears to be agents of another crime syndicate gang, perhaps Crimson Dawn, Fett holds his own but is taken down at the last minute. Thankfully saved by the timely intervention of his Gamorrean guards, who he spared, but having to be dragged back to his Bacta tank for repairs. Thinking about it, while they are violent, the Tusken Raiders have been the shining light of the Star Wars universe in the past few years. Their placement in The Mandalorian was fantastic, especially in Chapter 9, The Marshal, where Din Djarin works with them and Cobb Vanth to defeat the Cracked Dragon. Here in the episode, we all see Boba dealing with them slightly differently. Boba eventually earns the respect of the Tusken Chief and the Tusken Warrior, proving he's worthy of not being a prisoner in some regard. The Tusken Chief shares what I think is either water or the Tusken stew, which might be called Viewer Pie stew if I remember correctly, clearly showing a sign of respect. Hopefully the flashbacks dives more into this so we see how Fett works them a little bit more. It would also explain how Fett ends up with his black robes and the Tusken weapon he wields in The Mandalorian. Again, hopefully more of this is shown off. I'd hope this to be the last of the flashbacks, as there's some more to be explored in my opinion. Lastly, on the Tusken front, I'm really appreciating the continued development of the Tusken culture throughout modern Star Wars. It's one of the shining aspects of the latest content in my opinion. Okay, let's talk about present day. Speaking of the gang attack, while I appreciate the flashbacks, I did wish we'd seen more of a present day setting of the series. Thankfully we do pick up on that and we see what both Fett and his master assassin, Fennec Shand, are up to. The series introduced us to the struggles of running a crime empire. Who knew? Boba Fett and Shand are seemingly trying to take account of everything that is now under Fett's control. This is where the series introduces its comedic aspect, which is something I did not expect. This would be due to Temuera Morrison playing the older Boba Fett in a weary, pragmatic, and trying to be less violent way of life. As we're introduced in the other trailers, Fett intends to rule with respect, compared to Jabba the Hutt's rule of fear. Fennec Shand reminds him of this and how it might not be a good idea a few times throughout the episode, and I imagine this to be somewhat as a recurring theme throughout the series as we do go on. During the tribute offerings at Jabba's palace, not only do we get comedian Matt Berry voicing a palace interrogator droid, 8DB8, but we're also given a glimpse of what is likely growing political tension. The mayor of Mos Espa sends his aide, rather than himself, and seems to hint that the mayor is not happy with the change of power. Perhaps we see more of a growing tension between the mayor and Fett as this new crime boss. Jennifer Beals' character of a female Twi'lek, Garsa Fwip, is introduced and oh my. I hope we see more of her, as she seems somewhat interesting as this somewhat powerful figure owning the canteen in Mos Espa. Speaking of characters, did you catch the Trandoshan during the tribute scene, Doc Strassi? He is actually portrayed by episode director Robert Rodriguez. The Gamorreans make their introduction as two guards who previously served Jabba and Bib Fortuna, but are spared by Boba Fett in the episode, even with Shand telling him not to spare them. Though, as mentioned earlier, this does come in useful. I also say I'm loving the pig guards by the way, some very iconic aliens which serve their purpose really well in this episode, showing they do have some good strength and fighting abilities to them. Honestly, I hope these pair stays with current characters, I kinda like them already. Blink and you will miss it, but there is this little cameo of Max Rebo, who previously performed at Jabba's palace and for many crime lords. He's sort of a fan favourite throughout the Star Wars universe. So, when we look at Boba Fett, yes, he is somewhat of a broken man, but on the same side, I think this is likely the first time he's getting to properly rest up. I'm not sure on this, because when we catch up with him in The Mandalorian, it seems he's somewhat free of the Tusken Raiders, and has also rescued Fennec Shand after she was left for dead. So we're still missing more important flashbacks. How did Boba leave the Tuskens? Perhaps after gaining respect he could simply leave them behind, or did he escape otherwise? Also, how did he eventually get back to Slave One? Or should we call it Boba Fett's starship? Overall, this is a good start to the new series of the Book of Boba Fett. Don't get me wrong, I don't think it's perfect by any means, but I do think this episode and its use of flashbacks was likely needed to get the story going in the right direction. Eventually I'm hoping episode 2 will give us a good boost in the right direction. Chapter 1 is filled with fan service, which is not a bad thing at all. It grabs the attention of hardcore Star Wars fans in the right places. I am really happy that many of us know the story of the Sarlacc pit and how Boba escaped. Showing us that this experience left scars in him is also great character development as well. I'll be honest though, part of me watching his escape through the Sarlacc pit couldn't help think of the robot chicken bits. Purple Rain, people. Part of me feels that this first episode does lean too much on the past ever so slightly. I personally would like to have spent more time in a present day setting, and really dive deep into this criminal underworld and struggle for power that Boba Fett finds himself in. Though on the flip side, if I look at it, we do get the rest of the series for this in a sense. The Book of Boba Fett is fun to watch so far. Thanks to streaming services, we're exploring another aspect of the Star Wars universe once again. We're also getting to dive deeper into the lore of other Star Wars legendary characters, and also see Boba Fett in a new light. I'm thinking it won't be long till we get some proper action scenes that really go hard on how things go. So far, fan reactions online are positive, with many praising the opening of the series being exactly what they wanted from the show. Alright Exalted Ones, that's it from Chapter 1 of the Book of Boba Fett. We'll be back next week for Chapter 2 on January 5th, 2022. Be sure to let us know what you think of the latest episode, as well as tuning in throughout the week for our latest videos on the show. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with the latest Star Wars news, lore and more. You can also follow us on social media as well. Make sure to let us know what you think in the video comment section below, because if you're talking about Star Wars then of course we want to hear about it. For now, I've been Jack here on Star Wars Now, thanks for watching and we'll see you next time. May the Force be with you.